So what's up, people, and welcome to the Chapter 6 and 7 discussion for Choujin X. So Chapter 6 and 7 came out, I don't know when, but Sui Ishida has been bringing these out very quickly, and despite the fact that they are not in a periodic manner, they do come out very quickly so far. And I originally thought that he was going to slow down because he said that he wasn't going to bring them out in a periodic manner and only when he felt comfortable to do so. But he's been bringing it out really quickly, which indicates, or at least hope, that he is enjoying developing these chapters, and that will prevent him from getting the burnout that he did when he was writing Tokyo Ghoul Re. But in any case, as always, I will leave a link to Chapter 6 and 7 that is currently being shown on the publisher's official website, Manga Plus, for free to the North American audience only for a short period of time. So if you're interested, go take a look at it before they pull these chapters back. Okay, so chapters 6 and 7. Yeah, this is getting very, very interesting, and this is getting to be very symbolic of the way Sui Ishida writes. If you recall, in chapters 4 and 5, we saw that snake lady was attacking Tokyo, and at the very end of chapter 5, we saw that Ely came flying through the sky and smashed into Tokyo, and that's how we ended that chapter. Well, chapter 6 starts off exactly where chapter 5 left off, but I do have to say that I made a mistake when I was reviewing chapter 5. I mentioned that since Ely was being chased by that other smoke dude, that maybe he will show up, but I forgot that she was saved by that heroic Choujin, who turned out to look exactly like her Prince Charming. And that was pretty funny to see. But in any case, it indicates that Ely is no longer being chased by that smoke dude. And in fact, it seems like Ely has come to this location not out of fleeing from the smoke dude, but actually to help save Tokyo. She noticed that something was going on. She was suspicious of what was happening, and so she came to investigate. And I have to admit, I really am starting to like Ely. This is again very classic Sui Ishida, and he seems to have a very good way of creating relatively complex characters, and he's one of the few that actually creates femme fatales that are relatively kind of weak looking on the surface and really strong beneath. One of the examples of that is Hinami in Tokyo Ghoul. But Ely is turning out to be similar to that. They don't have similar personalities. Hinami was a very quiet, shy sort of girl who had outrageously powerful strength. But Ely is kind of a goofball. When I first saw her in the first chapter, I thought she was a complete potato girl. And she still may be. But chapter 6 really made me appreciate Ely. Because if you recall, she really doesn't have mastery over her smoke powers yet, and yet she came to help Tokyo out. And considering the fact that she realizes just how dangerous a situation she's in, she doesn't let up, and she continues to do whatever she can to desperately help Tokyo. And that shows another part of her personality that's very different from the goofball nature that she typically shows. And so when she drops in and notices Tokyo, and then realizes that he's being attacked by Snake Lady, she immediately goes on alert, and basically using her smoke powers, tries to help Tokyo get away from that Snake Lady. Oh, by the way, I should start calling Snake Lady by her real name Nari, but I keep on calling her Snake Lady, so I apologize. But in any case, as much as Ely is able to fly away with Tokyo, she doesn't have the ability yet to really fly too far, and so Nari catches up. And that's when a battle between Ely and Nari takes place. And you could once again see the sheer desperation and tenacity that this girl has, despite the fact that she knows that she's in overwhelming odds and that she doesn't have the strength of controlling her smoke powers yet. You could see the sheer desperation and commitment she's putting into bringing out her powers to save Tokyo. And this expression is so well done by Sui Ishida, and it reminded me of just why I love his comics. He really brings out human expression very well, despite the rough nature of the drawings. And despite the fact that it is overwhelming odds and Nari eventually goes into full beast mode, which Ely has no chance of fighting against, it doesn't stop Ely from continuing to defend Tokyo from this attacker. And Tokyo is wondering, and this is another part I really like about Sui Ishida, is despite all this action going on, there's always this continued self-reflection that you see in many of his stories. It happened a lot with Kaneki in Tokyo Ghoul, and it's happening quite a bit with Tokyo as well. So as you know, Tokyo is a shy boy, and he doesn't really have kind of the aggression to be proactive. And he's always used the excuse of Azuma to just follow along with him. He's never had to make a real hard decision in his life ever, because Azuma was always there to make it for him, so it was comfortable for him to follow Azuma. And over the past little while, he's been trying to see if he could become a little bit proactive, and he would try to figure out what Azuma would do and try to do the same thing. Well, here, he's running into a dilemma because he's not really sure what Azuma would do. And yet he's seeing this young girl risk her life despite all the lack of power that she has to defend him. And he's starting to question, why is she defending him so much? And he realizes that he hasn't put in 110% of himself ever in his life. And at the end of chapter 6, we see that he is finally starting to step up when he finally decides to go into full beastification. If you recall, he's been spending all his time trying to get out of being a beast ever since he's transformed into that vulture role. But now he's going full beast mode because he feels it's absolutely necessary to get out of this situation. And chapter 7, of course, goes into him being in full beast mode, which, to be honest, I really like his full beast mode look. And the entire chapter then falls into his confrontation with Nari, the snake lady. And part of it turns out to be his battle against the snake lady. And considering the fact that he is just as much a noob of a Choujin as Ely, you could kind of understand what the outcome is. So then the rest of the chapter is him trying to fly away from Nari. And eventually, when that fails, you could see him just carrying Ely and running away while Ellie's sitting there going, no, we still gotta fight. And so then they go into this major wacky dialogue. And you could see some of the comedic interactions that's going between Tokyo and Ely during this intense moment. And once again, I feel that this is a little bit different from what you saw in Tokyo Ghoul. Whenever there was intense moments, they were serious, dark, and violent events. Here there's violence, but there's always this kind of tinge of comedy that continues to go on. But eventually, Sui Ishida does show his strength in creating dark comics by bringing in another character that comes in clutch to save Tokyo and Ely. His name is Otsta, and he seems to be now a friend of Ely's, and he was wondering why Ely suddenly took off somewhere and came to investigate, thank God. And his powers are pretty OP and pretty violent. And so when he takes down Nari, he seriously takes down Nari. And so we're starting to see other characters get introduced. We're starting to see the level of the powers that some of these children have. I got a feeling Ely is going to power up eventually because you can understand she has smoke and somewhat fire powers, so you could understand she is capable of having huge, huge powers in the series. As far as Tokio is concerned, I'm not really sure because I'm not exactly sure what vulture powers are. But it is interesting that he is also powering up, and it'll be interesting to see where his powers take him. But eventually they end up in a place called Yamato Mori, or Yamato Forest, which I guess is a private organization consisting of good Choujins, basically superheroes. And that's where he meets Hoshi for the first time. Yes, the guy who saved Ely, the knight in shining armor, because his facial expression basically looks like the wonderful Prince Charming that she has always dreamed about. Yeah, this guy. But in any case, Ely is a pretty comical character. I'm glad she's in this series because it does put a lot of lightness and comedy into this otherwise dark series. But Hoshi basically welcomes Tokio, and Tokio for the first time realizes he does have support, and he has people around him who do care for him. And it ends with a very heartwarming scene. So this is so far moving quite well. We're starting to get some more world building. We're starting to see some more characters come in. But one question that still comes up that we haven't seen: what happened to Asuma? And my worry is maybe Asuma will go down the dark path and he'll go to the antagonist side. It'll be interesting to see what happens because Tokio and Asuma were very close, but Sui Ishida has a knack for bringing in and throwing wrenches into otherwise calm situations. And so if they are close, I'm wondering if he will use this opportunity to break that bonding and challenge those two to see how their relationship will grow. Will it fail and they will eventually go against each other, or will they overcome the problem? In any case, there is still that problem. Whatever the case, Asuma is alienating Tokio, and we have to find out what that is, and hopefully Sui Ishida will go into that in the future. But at least he's coming out with chapters really quickly, and they're very interesting chapters. I'm really starting to enjoy Choujin X a lot. And in any case, when the next few chapters come out, I'll bring up another video. I hope you join me at that time. But this is the chapters 6 and 7 discussion of Choujin X. And thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, Jaya, nice day, everyone.